Hey, welcome back to Passports, Profits, and Pixie Dust. My name is Lindsay Dollinger. I am the travel agency owner of At Last I See the World Travel, business coach for travel advisors, Disney adult, river cruise expert, and somehow still a full-time high school Spanish teacher. Welcome to the show. Today's episode is one that I've really been wanting to record because there is so much outdated information out there about becoming a travel advisor. And since opening my own agency earlier this year, I get questions about it all the time. So today's question is kind of like a Q&A. So this is mostly for you if you are not yet a travel advisor, or you are listening and you're like, maybe you're brand new, maybe you're feeling a little stuck in your business and you just want a little bit of refreshed energy. Or maybe you want to send this to a friend who you're like, hey girl, this is actually sounds exactly like you. You should reach out to Lindsay and talk to her about being in her agency. So some questions that I get is, okay, but how do people actually become a travel advisor? Some people think you need to actually go to college for it. You need to be employed in a brick and mortar, maybe as a W-2 employee. So just to clarify before I go into some additional questions I get, my agency, I do work on 1099 status, not W-2. I have had some people working out or reaching out wanting to be W-2. We're not to W-2 place yet. I don't know if I ever actually will be, to be honest. I really like the idea of a 1099, but that's, something for another day. People ask, can you really make money doing this? Or how do you make money doing this? Do I need expertise? Like, I can't do this if I haven't traveled. I can't do this if I haven't cruised. I can't do this if whatever fill in the blank is. And can I still do this while working my current job? I think obviously, hopefully you just caught that I am still a classroom teacher. So that let's just squash that myth right now is you can do both. And I actually really get triggered when people in the agency world, I guess I should say, are like, you have to be doing this full time. Do I think you absolutely can do this 100% full time? Yes. Do I think that, as with anything that, people are multi-passionate. People can have more than one occupation, more than one career. I don't necessarily think that you get better service by working with someone who does this full-time versus as a quote unquote side hustle. I hear that a lot, well, don't work with people who are travel agents who this is their side hustle because they're not able to, call places for you or service you. That's just simply not true. And I think that's a really limiting mindset that people are telling people to make themselves look or feel better. But anyway, that's a side note. This is all going to boil down to, I think a lot of women are more capable than they realize, just in general with our society, right? Like, you are capable of so many things. And a lot of times you might even hear one thing and then we put our own or those limiting beliefs on ourselves, and it just basically like squashes our dreams. So we are not about that over here. So today I want to pull back the curtain a little bit and talk about what no one tells you about becoming a travel advisor or a travel agent, whatever terminology you want to use, how travel advisors actually make money, why this can fit into your real life way more realistically than you might think, and why I personally get so tired of living in the cycle of using up PTO for every trip. And again, you probably caught that I'm a teacher. I get 3 days off a year. It is horrible. And I know people say, well, you get the whole summer off or you get breaks. Yes. And those are the most expensive times to travel. Two, there are destinations like I am dying to go to Antarctica. Newsflash, friends, if you did not know, summer in the United States is not the time to go to Antarctica because that's their winter. So you actually, like all those cruises, the expedition cruise, they don't run then. So, and most of them are more than like a week long that I would get off at like a Christmas break sort of situation. So like I actually cannot do that trip because my school won't let me take unpaid leave either. So that's why I'm talking and I'm so passionate about finding a job or an occupation where we are not living paycheck to paycheck, and one, not being able to travel maybe, or two, having to plan like our lives around our work instead of like the other way around. I don't really love that. So, and honestly, like I said, we're going real talk here. So this episode is kind of a sneak peek into the free workshop that I'm hosting this Wednesday night, if you're listening to this live time, called From PTO Request to Pay Travel, How to Earn Your First 10K as a Travel Advisor Without Quitting Your Job. So if this episode hits home for you at all today, definitely come hang out with me live. And if you miss it, send me a DM, send me a message, and I would be happy to send you that replay if you're listening to this not live time and you're not on my email list, which if you're not on my email list, girl, why are we not on my email list now? So get on my email list, lindsaydollinger.com/quiz is a nice way to do that. Or if you go just over to my website, lindsaydollinger.com, there's lots of freebies and stuff. You can sign up for my email list there. Okay, let's get into it. A few years ago, travel felt like this tiny reward that I got to earn by surviving my life first. And if you're a teacher, you're a nurse listening to this, you get it. You count down to the breaks. You stretch every long weekend. You obsessively track flight prices. You try to make every vacation worth it because you waited so long for it. So I had so many trips or so many so-called vacations that I would come home and be like, I need a vacation for my vacation, because I had to squeeze so much into that time to make it feel like it was worth it, because I had either waited so long or I had spent such a big portion of my paycheck on it that I wanted to make sure I was squeezing the juice out of all of it. And I love teaching. I still love teaching. But I remember thinking, why does travel have to feel so limited? Why does it feel like this thing I only get to do in tiny pieces and tiny slots of my time? And why does life feel like work and then vacation and then back to work again? And, you're always planning for the next trip or having something to look forward to, because it's getting you through the workday. The other thing that I found myself doing, and I'm actually super good at this now, so if this is something that interests you or you're curious about, let me know, is finding opportunities for free travel. So I applied for different grants and different trips and different opportunities. One summer I spent in Chile and Argentina as an ambassador for the State Department. So I was down there doing things with them, and the U.S. Department of State paid for my trip and my travels. I don't think I spent any money that summer, unless it was just for a snack here or there or something like that. And I lived with a family in Chile, and it was a super amazing experience. So I got really good at finding those things. I also took students abroad many times. Some of those trips I had to pay for, but they were discounted to me. Now, I will put a little disclaimer in here, and I can do something about this too. Student travel is not for the weak, especially if you are the person who is chaperoning, especially if you're the person in charge of the trip. So I don't know if I would particularly recommend that route, unless that's something that you do anyway, or you work with kids anyway. But anyway, I got really good at finding these creative ways almost. If you do not know about me, my master's degree is in Spanish, because I'm a Spanish teacher, and I found a program that was a study abroad program, and I spent 3 summers abroad in 3 different countries. So I lived in Guatemala studying my first summer, I was in Peru studying my second summer, and I was in Spain studying my third summer, which I had also studied abroad in Spain in undergrad. And I did that because I'm like, okay, if I'm paying for my degree anyway, I might as well be someplace really cool that I can, basically kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get to travel and get immersed in the language, improve my Spanish, which it definitely did, and get my degree, right? So I have always been very creative about that. And I was tired of feeling like I had to ask permission to live my life, to do the things that I really loved doing, and feeling like it wasn't a natural weave into my lifestyle. That's the best way I can describe it. So when you're constantly waiting for your PTO approval, your school calendar, or someone else's schedule to determine the way you live, it starts to feel really heavy. It felt heavy. It felt unaligned. It just kind of felt icky. And I think a lot of women are probably feeling that right now, because that's the way I felt. Not because they hate their life at all. Maybe you're completely comfortable with it. Not because you hate your job. Maybe you really love your job, but because there's a little voice inside your head saying there has to be more than this. I hear that little voice a lot. Do you as well? So there has to be more flexibility. There has to be more freedom. There has to be more excitement. There has to be more ownership over your own life, where you can control some of these factors a little bit more. And for me, travel was always that thing that made me feel most alive. So when I first heard people talking about being a travel advisor, honestly, it really wasn't on my radar in the way that travel advisors are now. It was more like going to AAA and, having to be in that office position. So I never really thought that it was possible for me. I thought people still do that. How does that work? How could I make that work? Because I'm not going to go, leave a job where I'm teaching and then go to another job in an office. Can normal people even make money doing that? Is it legit? Because we see a lot of the MLM, space. Because I think even still to this day, but even more back then, because this is 2019 when I joined as a travel agent, that they picture the storefront agencies, like I said, like the AAAs, and someone booking random flights all day, or being in a call center, or the weird, like I said, like the MLM type of energy. And this industry today looks really nothing like that. Yes, there are MLMs, and I'm not going to knock the MLMs, because if you did not know, my first travel agency was, well, it was partnered with an MLM. I was with IntelliTravel. And IntelliTravel, actually, and a lot of people think it's an MLM, and it drives me crazy. It is not. It is partnered with an MLM, which is called Planet Marketing. That is an MLM. And I'm not going to go into on this episode why I decided to step away, but really the biggest thing is that I wanted to build something that was truly my own. And I got my eyes open to that it was possible. And so I was able to leave the MLM sector to join. I'm now under the host agency called Nexion. Anyway, so modern travel advisors, what they really are relationship-based business owners, niche experts, content creators, marketers, trip designers, community builders. And the coolest part is that most people do start or part-time. Even if they say maybe that they're full-time, you're not going to probably have clients right off the bat to fill a full-time true schedule. And that's the piece nobody talks about enough. So why I am saying this is you do not have to quit your job tomorrow. You do not need to have everything figured out. You do not need to have thousands of followers. Heck, you don't even really need to have a social media presence at all if you're willing to learn how to do that. You don't need to have traveled everywhere. You just need to be willing to learn. That's it. Because truthfully, most travel advisors who are successful start as people who love travel. They help people plan trips anyway, naturally. They give recommendations constantly to their friends and their family when they're asking, or maybe even on, people who aren't asking, you tell them anyway. You enjoy researching vacations or destinations, and you get excited talking about travel. That's just the foundation. Also, I think it's really important to be able to transfer some of those skills from other life experiences that you have. Maybe it is your job. So example for teaching, I'm organized, I'm a people person, I have decent, if not good customer service. I'm dealing with parents and they're kind of like my clients. Being able to organize things like backwards, like there's all sorts of things that you can apply from either your personality, your past job experience, your life that you can apply to this career. So I just want to remind you that. And I think in general, women especially massively underestimate how valuable those skills that we have already are. Okay, so let's talk about something that everyone really wants to know. And this is how travel advisors actually make money. Because I know this is a question that, especially if you are not joining a company as W-2 and you're like a 1099, you're like, okay, how does this even work? This is what we're Googling. And sometimes it's pretty hard to find some of this info online. Travel advisors primarily make money through commissions from travel suppliers. A supplier is like Disney, Carnival, Norwegian. It's like the companies that you are booking the travel to, Hilton, right? So when you help people book cruise, Disney, all-inclusives, Europe, river cruises, tours, train ride, hotels, vacation packages, whatever, that supplier pays a commission percentage to your host agency if you're part of a host agency. And then your host agency pays a portion of that commission, whatever your contract says to you. That's it. So let's give a super simplified example. A $5,000 trip at a 10% commission, that's about $500 earned. So that $500 would go to your host agency. And then if you make 70% of that, then 70% of that $500 would get paid to you. And that's just on one booking. When you start stacking repeat clients, these will come, back to you in 2 or 3 years after you start as a travel agent. I think I heard on another podcast that was like the average. Referrals from people, family vacations, girls trips, destination weddings. That would be a huge one if you can get like a destination wedding or a group. People's cruises. This is where the momentum starts happening and it starts building on each other. And I think this matters because so many women assume like, oh, I have to be an influencer. I'm going to have to show up on TikTok or Facebook or whatever these things to make money. No. Most advisors get their first clients from people that they already know, coworkers, friends, family, the moms and mom club and your kids' dance studio, neighbors, Facebook friends. People are already traveling. They are already paying their money to Disney, Carnival, et cetera, directly. And that trust that they have with you is going to count way more than your follower count and reaching out to new people. And I'm just going to be honest with you right now, just say something a little bit spicy. Nobody is going to come, friend, and hand you a magic wand to magically have everything in life that you want. Nobody is. Not your boss, not your spouse, your job, not someday down the road, not waiting until things slow down. If you want more flexibility and travel and freedom and income and more ownership over your life, at some point you have to decide to go after it. So at some point, you're going to have to tell the mom at ballet class in your conversation, naturally weave it in when she starts talking about what she's doing for spring break next year. Oh my gosh, did you know I am a travel agent on the side? I would love to talk to you about booking your next trip if you wanted to. Because staying where you're at, that's the choice too. And you can do that. And a lot of people do choose to do that. I heard on, I don't know if you listen to the Trent Shelton podcast. His podcasts are very much like motivational, going to church. He does talk about God and religion some throughout it, but it's mostly like get your ish together kind of stuff in a nice way sometimes, Anyway, I think I heard on his podcast, I'm pretty sure it was his. It was either his or the Ed Milet show, that only about 10% of people truly put in the effort to go after the dreams and the things they want in life. And I heard that number and it made me really sad because I definitely count myself in that 10%. And it's like the other 90% of the population are just either lack motivation or they have zero belief in themselves that they can do anything to change their life. And I'm not all about women who are waiting to feel ready enough, experienced enough, qualified enough, confident enough, because you already are enough. We already are inherently enough because you are freaking amazing and you deserve to have the things in life that you want. And if this is one means of getting that, then why would you not give it a try? The women actually building incredible lives are usually the ones willing to start before they're ready, or they're willing just to chance on themselves because they don't know what could happen. What's the worst that can happen, right? Messy action beats waiting forever. And no, I'm not saying everyone should quit their job tomorrow. And I'm not saying that being a travel advisor is for everyone. It is definitely not. And I actually really hate that messaging in our industry. Like, everyone can do this. Could they? Yes. Should they? No. Okay. So this is literally the opposite of what I teach, because I still teach full time. I still do multiple things, in my life. And I'm not just 100% focused on this. Also, I do want to say, and not just to pat myself in the back or whatever, I'm kind of a freak in that I have the ability to kind of juggle multiple things at a time at this point in my life. I also don't have kids. I just want to remind you that. And I think that self-awareness is really, really important too. But anyway, I think women deserve to know that there are other options available to them besides the traditional 9 to 5, whatever you went to college for, being burnout, maybe one vacation a year, and repeating this cycle forever. Because you blink and the years go by and we have one life to live. And if you never go after your dreams, no one is going to do it for you. Okay, then you soapbox over. So this is also why I care so deeply about what we're building inside my agency at Last I See the World Travel, because there's a huge difference between learning just how to book a trip and learning how to build an actual travel business. I didn't want to build an agency full of people randomly booking trips with no support. I wanted to create the kind of environment I wish I had when I got started. So inside of our agency, just in case you're curious, advisors get monthly Zoom calls, group Zoom calls for support and connection. I also do one-on-one calls with my advisors who are working the business. My own training portal with step-by-step guidance that I have shared over the years, as well as a ton of templates and workflows and things already built out for you. Mentorship directly with me as both a travel agency owner and a business coach. That's kind of what I bring to the table. That's like my differentiating factor, not fracture. I don't know why I said fracture. Factor is that a lot of people think that just by booking trips, you're building a travel business. That's not it. There's so many of the business pieces that travel agencies miss. And then their agents or advisors get overwhelmed and never really build a business to their true potential. So we talk the marketing, we talk, client retention and taxes and all of those different things. Marketing, visibility, systems, content, like all of that are things that I teach and I mentor and I help my advisors with. We also have incredible support and supplier partnerships with the highest commission opportunities because I am paired with a host agency, which is called Nexion. They are freaking amazing. So not only do you get all the benefits of working with me and my agencies, but you also get the benefits of working with our host agency, which is Nexion. So the opportunities for the fam trips, and even bigger community, big conferences if you want to go to them, you know, it's just amazing. It's kind of like the best of both worlds and building a community with other women alongside of them. So, because trying to piece this business together alone from random TikToks and YouTube videos and outdated Facebook threads is going to be exhausting to you, mentorship matters, community matters, having a roadmap matters. And that's why I created my free training that's happening on Wednesday night, from PTO request to paid travel, how to earn your first 10K as a travel advisor without quitting your job. Inside the workshop, I'm going to be breaking down how travel advisors actually make money, what getting started really looks like, how beginners get clients, so how you can get your first clients, how this can fit into your current life, and the roadmap for turning your love of travel into true income, because that roadmap is going to be different for everyone. And I think a lot of people don't realize that either. You know, what one company or what one host agency says is like the right way to do things isn't necessarily going to work for you. So if you've been listening to this episode and you're thinking, okay, maybe this is possibly me, and you're in the US, because I can only take agents in the US currently, I really hope you'll come. Not because I think everyone needs to become a travel advisor tomorrow, but because I think more women deserve to know that this path exists. And maybe, just maybe, this could be the one little tweak, this one little addition to your life that changes the trajectory of it. Okay, so friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If this episode resonated with you and you would like to come to the workshop, I'm going to drop the link down in the show notes. You can also send me a DM or see my social media, or my email is plastered all over it right now. And if you're listening to this late, send me a DM. I'll send you a replay. I'll let you know if we're currently accepting more advisors, because I am doing like an open close situation now, just to make sure that everyone is getting trained at the same time and is able to develop like a community of newer agents as you're transitioning into our agency to meet our other agents. I'm just really excited. I have a really huge vision for where this company and where this business and where this agency is going. And I am excited to take motivated, amazing women who love to travel and want to build a life of their dreams on the trip with me. So go out there, friend, create it on your magic. And I hope to see you on Wednesday night. Bye-bye.